more depth. All right. Does that make sense? Sound okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now, the other thing is I could give you an ordered pair. I could tell you, I could just give you an ordered pair like 3, -4. Okay. And I could ask for the vertical line or the horizontal line. So the vertical line is x equals 3, and the horizontal line is y equals -4. The vertical line has to be the x, the horizontal line has to be the y.
Got it.
So what else would be good for you to us to look at here?
Looking back on another. And yeah, so when you look down at 14 and 15, I wrote down rushing because I do remember that when I was doing the test and those like the last two questions, like I think I had like a minute left, but I was still kind of rushing to get it done by the time that we were allotted. Um, so I think that kind of caused some errors and that also on number 15. After adding the 600, I assumed it was 625 instead of accounting for the calculations that are written in red pen on the side. But other than that, we go up here. Another one is 7B for the calculator portion.
Okay, so
Um,
before we go to the 7B, on a test, a strategy that you may want to start considering is to read through the entire test. Meaning you should look and see how many problems there are.
yeah,
Uh,
so we were
and-
we were given part one, like first year just we're just given part one. And then she gave us part two separately. Part one, when I saw it, like again, it was the 7 questions that are here. I think I did understand like if you look back at part one, which was the first one that she gave us,
Mhm.
if you look back at number 7, I think I understood what it was trying to do, but I forgot like the context of the problem.
But
And
this is
yeah.
where I've got to jump in and ask you a question on number 7. Are you using the built-in regression of the calculator, or are you doing
Yeah.
this by hand?
She told us to do the regression thing on the calculator. So yeah,
Okay,
using the
so for example, you went to list 1 and list 2 in your
yeah,
calculator, is that right?
yeah,
And then you did a second calc lin reg or whatever, math lin reg,
yeah,
whatever it is. Okay. All right.
yeah. I think the only thing is that I didn't see like the context of the problem properly where it was money, so you can't have like 3 decimal places. You would have to round off that second decimal place to the
Yeah,
nearest
but
thing.
it says in the problem here around to 3 decimal places.
Yeah, but I think when she was talking on
Oh,
the
I
phone,
see
she
what you're
wanted
saying.
it to be
I
big.
think so. If you want my opinion, I think you could go back to your instructor and get 1 point back. Now, what would 1 point back mean? I mean, not much. I mean, you're still at the same grade, but it is somewhat unclear when you're asking for the model to 3 decimal places and then and then asking you to then evaluate it and not know to round. It's kind of odd. Like, so I guess I'm saying, like, if you came to me with an argument and said, hey, well, why did you want me to round to 3 decimal places, then not give you the slope to 3 decimal places? I could see either way. I would have said to go to 2 decimal places, and there wouldn't have been an issue. But I
Yeah,
guess, I mean, the other thing here is because the car is, you could also make the argument that it's ridiculous to go to 3 decimal places because you're talking about thousands of dollars. Like, nobody cares if you're off by $1
yeah,
when you're
but
talking about thousands of dollars. But
yeah, another thing I'm starting to notice, like as we're looking through this, a lot of like, for example, this car problem, like a very, very similar one was on the review that she
okay,
gave, like the slideshow, which I did end up going over, and we did go over as a class as well, the review. Um, so I think, so right now we're in chapter 2. So when chapter 2 test comes, she'll also give another review, and she might give like a review homework thing as well, instead of just a review slideshow. But
if you have time, you might go back and look at the review for chapter 1 compared to all these questions and see how similar they are. Maybe there's always a one-to-one mapping where there is a question on the review and then a problem on the exam, just like it.
yeah, here. Another one that I wanted to go over, I think it's number 7 on the second part. I think that 7 is hidden away, but it's on page 5 of the PDF. You didn't really go
Oddly,
over
I don't have which question number is it? Because page numbers aren't appearing all
here.
that.
Oh,
Which problem number?
it's problem number 7, but like the 7 for some reason didn't, it got folded with the paper clips.
What is it?
So
What it says, given the function f of x equals -3 absolute value for x plus 2
yeah,
plus x
yeah,
squared.
yeah, 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 that's the one.
Okay. So the classic mistake here is to not represent your variables as being in parentheses. So there's almost like a rewrite step here where you rewrite the function where the variables are in parentheses. Like that. And that will save you, although I don't know that you made this mistake, but that will save you because the way you wrote it, when you write -5 squared, what this means is you square the 5 and then negate it. If you write it as parentheses -5 squared,
Oh, the difference between that, because then the
yeah.
negative
Now you wrote the
includes
right
it.
answer, but that's not always, yeah, not always. So 4 times -5 is -20. Plus 2 -18. So you had this, and then you have -3 here. So yeah, I mean, you actually, like, to me, it looks like you just lost a sign with the equal sign. I'll show you that here. So what it looks like to me is that, see the subtraction operator or negative sign, see how it kind of blended into the equals. Well, it's interesting. Why did you write minus though? I don't know.
Yeah, because
You had all,
oh,
so I don't know, how many points off did you
oh,
get
I actually,
for
I think I know why I put minus, because I made the mistake of this, like I wrote plus 25, like negative 54 plus 25. But the thing is that I thought, for some reason, I don't know if I was rushing or something like that, but it might have been, I might have thought it was negative 54 plus negative 25, or well, yeah, or something like that, because that's might have been how I got the negative 79.
Now, give me more information though. How many points did you lose on number 7 for being wrong?
On number 7, interesting, she didn't actually put it on here. Let me check the visible marker. Oh, no, she did not mark exactly how many points were off, but you can kind of estimate that using the other
Well, the reason I'm
one.
asking is like, let's say it was 5 points. Like you could go to your teacher and say, look, I did everything right up until this. I mean, I wrote minus 54 plus 25. I just didn't write the correct answer. Um, you could probably argue that you shouldn't lose all the points on this question. Your work is correct up until checking the final answer. And I don't know. So this is where okay, maybe you can get 1 point for that other one. Maybe you can get 2 points for this one. Is 3 points going to make a difference? It might. You got to be, you got to decide that. It's up to you though. It sometimes is good to go in and have a dialogue with the instructor because then they know that you care. They know that you're thinking about it. You're not just, you're not, because they took some time to grade it. So, you ought to take some time to maybe go in and ask them how, what they think or ask them and tell them what you think about the test. And maybe they have some feedback for you about how to improve.
Yeah. Yeah, so another one that I wanted to go over was the one right below that.
Okay.
Um,
Let me snip that in. Okay, so we did talk about this a little bit, and the challenge really is like knowing which one to evaluate. And it's a question. You're asking yourself a question each time. You're like, okay, -1, -1. So you really ask a question, you're asking your question, is -1 -5 less than or equal to x less than -1? Does it fall in this window? And
no,
you
because
got to
it's not
decide, does it?
less than,
It's not there. If it were less than or equal to, then it would be. Then so you say no, is -1 like this? Does it fall between um these two numbers where -1 is included?
yeah,
Yes. So that means you're going to use the middle one. Now you can evaluate it wrong again. Like you have to remember that it's really negative parentheses x squared plus 6.
yeah. So what I did is I did negative of -1 squared plus 6. And it kind of simplified so -1 squared would be, oh, actually now I see where I got the mistake. Um, and I did most of like the calculation for that negative of -1 squared in mentally. I think that's where the mistake happened because -1 squared would be 1, but then you're multiplying the 1 by the negative outside of it. So it'd be -1 plus 6, which would be 5 then.
So it's -1 squared is 1, but then you negate it. Plus
Yeah,
6 is
I think
5.
I think I throw out the negative on the outside and just put 1 plus 6, which then resulted in
Right.
7.
Right. So this is I mean, it's a very deceptive question because a lot of students put it in the first one here, which is letter A. And then letter B is the answer if you don't have your signs, and order of operations correct. And then I suppose you could somehow get another answer, but these are testing kind of these things that they're expecting you to be able to figure out here. So um, classic test question, I would say. All right, what
Yeah,
else would you
yeah.
like to go through?
And then last one, at least the number 1 and 2 on the very first page.
Yep. So we're talking about solve the equation. Is that right? Solve the equation?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I did put in a note there that where she circled the +6, it was supposed to be a +5 and the correct, like, so, equation that she put on the
Right. So
thing. So that's
first
fine.
thing is to be able to FOIL this, which you're in algebra 2.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, then you shouldn't have any troubles foiling. So x squared plus x plus 5x plus 5. Now the negative here, the negative you have to distribute into everything. So it's minus 2x plus 3.
yeah, that I kind of caught myself while I was doing it because I first did it like wrong. I did a negative to like -2x -3. Then I fixed it. Then did -2x plus 3, and then so yeah, that I was able to catch.
Okay, and it looks like you're able to combine like terms as you go, which is great. One reason maybe to wait is because you're going to combine with stuff over here, but it ends up being x squared plus 4x plus 8. Okay, so that's where, there's a small difference between what you have and what the correct answer is. And then you correctly cancel these, which is great. And now you're down to a two-step equation. So I mean, the only issue was the 5 being a 6. I mean, that's the only thing here. It becomes 6x equals minus 16 divided by 6. You do have to reduce your x equals minus 8 over 3 like that.
I didn't.
Which, when you got minus 17 over 6, it doesn't reduce. So you know,
Got it. Yeah, then 6x divided by 6. Let me compare what I did. Um, you know, um, yeah, so then that +5 would have kind of channeled down, so then you get 6x equals -17, which I was what I got. But the correct answer would be 6x equals -16, then you divide the 6 on both sides. Yeah, I think that's one of the errors that like kind of funneled down to like the answer,
yep.
which ultimately made it wrong. But
All right, so number 2, kind of another classic mistake here. If I asked you on the left side of the equation how many terms there are, what would you say?
um on the left side there
Yes.
is 2 terms.
Yes, so terms are separated by plus or minus. Okay. Now, if I ask you how many terms are on the right side, I'm not going to let you answer because I don't want you to answer wrong. There's only one term. And you might say, well, what about the plus inside parentheses? And you would be right to sort of think that, but because this is multiplying this, it's kind of the same as saying like 4 times 5, which is only one term.
Yeah,
There,
and
there's
another
only
thing
one
that
term.
yeah, and I just want to step in a bit here. I do remember this is one of the questions that I was kind of struggling on because if you see in the work that I did, so I put 6/12 because I made let's say I found 12 to be the common denominator. So I put 6/12 and put x plus 9/12 and multiply that by 12/1 and did the same on the right side with 1/12 hence x plus 5. But then I was wondering whether you would still multiply the 12 by the 5 and the x and the 1/12 or just the 1/12. And I thought it was just the or it was you have to multiply it out throughout everything inside. which
I
is
mean, the
how I
issue,
got
so the
one.
issue on the right is that if you're gonna multiply everything on the right by 12, because there's only one term, just multiplying this by 12. Now,
So you
if
don't
you,
multiply the x plus 5, you just multiply it by the 1/12.
no, yeah, that's right. But if, for example, you distributed in and you had, I'll just go down here, x over 12 plus 5/12, and then you multiplied everything by 12, then you multiply them both by 12. It depends on how
Ah,
you see
got
it.
it.
And I don't know the answer to that. Like it depends. The more math you take, the more you get to choose, how you view the problems.
Got it. Got it. That was definitely one of the things that I already knew I was kind of struggling while I was taking the test. I was kind of noticing that because it took me longer to get through that because I was figuring out which one would be correct. And I thought it was correct to multiply it out throughout the entire thing, but apparently if it's in this specific scenario and you wanted to multiply it like this, then you would multiply it by the 12 and get rid of that, and it would still be x plus 5, or it would be 1 times x plus 5.
So I remember asking, hey, do you want to do a review session? Like if you had done a review session and you said, hey, I'm kind of not sure how to do these types of problems, I could have given you a couple like this to be able to work on, and we would have
Yeah, another
addressed
thing I
this.
noticed is that I actually like I feel like on my own I practice this a little bit, but maybe I could practice it a little bit more. Like this type of problem with pretty much all fractions except like one
I'm gonna challenge you. I'm
thing.
gonna
But
if you get one of these on your practice test, I'm gonna give you one with other fractions to see if you're able to do it. And that's the best way to prepare, especially if we know something like this is going to be on the test.
yeah, because I think that review is really key. Like, because on that review, she did have like a fraction problem. It wasn't quite like exactly like this one, but it might have been a little bit different, but it was still using like the fractions and inequality and that. So yeah, I'm starting to see like what her does it kind of mostly like, and I have kind of a good idea of that. So it should make it a little bit easier to study for future tests. So you know, like it's gonna be kind of closer to the review that she gives, just with like different numbers.
Exactly.
So
And
that
that's how
might be
you
something that we
that
review more next time.
and that's how you study. You figure out what's going to be on the test and you do more problems like those that are on the test.
Yeah. Again, number 3, I don't know if you can see it on the document, but it's on page 3 of the PDF. It's the first page of the second part, the no calculator part. Number 3 is another one that I was kind of struggling on because I think this one was mostly just rushing because I was trying because I knew that it wasn't D or C, so I was debating whether it was A or B. I thought it was A at first, the f of x equals 2/3 x plus 8. Um, but then when I did it, I didn't get the 12, but maybe there might have been like a calculation error when checking if A is a answer that's correct or not. Yeah, I
So,
can see it.
so this whole f of 6 equals 12, you have to recognize, well, what's x and what's y to produce an ordered pair. So it's the ordered pair 6 comma 12. That's really important. Like if I tell you it's f of -1 equals 2, that corresponds to -1 comma 2. That's an ordered pair. So
Got
this
it.
so it's it's really f of x equals y. It gives you order to comma y. So that's something to have down in your notes maybe. But regardless of whether you have that or not, there's a couple of ways to do number 3. Literally, you could test the answers, which kind of looks like you're doing. kind of.
Yeah, I kind of did that, erased like
Okay,
the ones that didn't work and then
but
kind of
the
redid it.
better, yeah, the better way is maybe to go, okay, it's y equals mx plus b. The slope is 2/3, so it's y equals
Oh,
2/3 x plus b.
kind of
And then
doing it
you
on your,
have,
yeah, kind of getting the points, getting the point from there and making your own equation, seeing which one matches it.
yes, yes.
Yeah, that would be a little quicker because then that, because it also gives you easy way to check if it's correct. Yeah, I think that might be a better way of doing it than just like trying out all the options, which also might take more time to check all the options than there would to just make the equation yourself and then kind of see which one matches it. So yeah, the stuff written in red and off to the side is what she kind of showed as like what the work that she did to come up with the right answer. Um,
Sorry, say that again.
um, so the work on the
Yeah, in red there. I mean, so that's another
yeah,
way to
so
do it.
she, yeah, she is like I think it's
This is
point
using
slope
point
form in
slope
it.
form, and
Yeah,
it worked. You just have to then do a bit more. You get y minus y1 equals slope 2/3 x minus x1, but you still have to put the ordered pair in 6 comma 12. So why not? I mean, my question to you would, or thought would be, well, why wouldn't you just put it into the form where you get the value of b here? When you put the numbers in, and it's possible to put them in the wrong place, that happens more often than you think. You then have to distribute, you then have to add, you could make some mistakes there, potentially.
got it.
So the point is that the point slope and the slope intercept get you to the same equation.
Got it.
So we got about 10 minutes left. What else would you like us to go over today?
Um, here, let me. So we did start lesson 2.1 today, which is the new lesson, and it is so this one was transformations and absolute value
Right.
fractions.
Yep. Remember doing that the other day?
Um, so here, let me. This one's kind of the stuff that I did last time. So um, I think this one might be one that we need to go over. Let me put it in the chat. So this is two questions. So number 4, number 5. So let's see.
Let's take a look here. All right. Yeah, let me go ahead and copy that. Right. So we got do this. Oh boy, that's didn't grid didn't come in back. Okay. So let's have you talked enough about transformations in class to be able to know the order that they appear in? For example, here, there are two transformations in number 4. Can you tell me any of them, either of them here?
It is a vertical stretch of 1/3. Actually,
Okay, so remember, okay, so just keep in mind, we kind of talked about this today, like it's actually a compress. Now, maybe your teacher just wants you to say vertical stretch because it's on the outside. That's not completely correct, but it is like maybe what they want. Because if the number here, it's usually called A. If the value of A is less than 1, it's called a compress. And if A is greater than 1, it's a stretch.
got it.
So be careful with that. Like to me, it's a vertical compress, but then you run into this issue of like, you're not actually compressing it by 1/3 because that would actually be
Yeah,
a stretch. So I
yeah,
don't, you got to go with whatever they're telling you in class.
yeah. So another thing that she talked about is horizontal stretch, but she said that we won't be going over that.
You won't see that for a while
Yeah,
in this
so
course.
for
How about this
horizontal.
-5?
The -5 would mean that it is to the left 5.
That is, if it's inside parentheses, you have that, but it's outside, sort of outside the
So it's
function,
down
down 5
5.
units. Yeah. All right. Now, when your instructor says to graph the function, like how accurate do they want it? Because for example, this is the parent function, and we can do this really, really quick and dirty here where it's like, all right, there you go. There's the modified one. It's down 5 and it's a stretch 1/3. Do you think they want a really accurate graph or just kind of like an eyeball it?
Um, I think she wants it accurate.
Okay, so to do it right, there's a couple of things you can do. You can either use the parent function and,
Well,
and do
yeah,
the transformations, or you can kind of like guess and check points that you think are good to do. So for example, the vertical stretch affects the y value and the down 5 affects the y value. So how are you guys doing this in class? Are you just using the same x values, or are you, for example, like I would tell you that because you're multiplying by 1/3, you want to choose x values that are divisible by 3. So for example, -6, -3, 0, 3, and 6, like that.
yeah, so she said that you don't have to like do the table, but we did do it in our notes, but she said that we're not like required to put the table down, but it does help with like making it a little more accurate and like
You want to make a table. You really do.
yeah.
This will help you, and not just in this course, but in others. This is like one
Yeah,
of
to
those
keep the
things.
points accurate and also
Yeah,
to know exactly where.
right. Because when you're dividing by 3, you need to choose points that you can divide by 3 or multiply by 1/3. Okay, so remember, it's the absolute value of this number times 1/3 minus 5. Okay, so like imagine you're putting -6 absolute value times 1/3 minus 5. You're going to end up getting -3 when you do that. Then for absolute value of -3, third of that minus 5 ends up being -4. And then 0 ends up being -5. And then by symmetry, you get the other points here.
Sure the graph is.
And then it's a little bit easier to graph. It's a lot harder to graph like 2/3 -5. So that's why I would recommend when there's a fraction in front to use multiples of that denominator.
Got it.
All right, now domain and range. So this new sketch here, if you do a nice job with it, your new sketch here, make it plenty of room. -6, -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down 3. -3, -4, 0, 5, and then by symmetry, you can kind of graph the other ones. So this will help you with your domain and range. The domain rarely changes on these.
Got it. So yeah, she did say the domain is mostly going to be negative infinity
For now.
to
You'll get some
infinity.
exceptions here in a bit. Range, what is the range? What's the minimum Y value?
The minimum y value would be, in this case, it would be -5.
Comma. And how far up does the graph go?
Infinity.
Infinity, yeah. Now, is it a parentheses or a bracket next to the -5?
That would be a parentheses.
It's included, so it becomes a bracket.
Oh yeah, right. It's only so there is bracket for range and
Well, there
domain.
could be bracket for domain and range. It just
Yeah.
depends on whether
And
it's
then
included or
for
not.
increasing and decreasing is the one where there is only parentheses.
Yeah, so let's close out with that because we're not gonna have time to start the other problem. Where is this graph increasing? Where is this graph decreasing? And remember, it's the X values that you care about.
So the graph is increasing from -5 parentheses.
X values. You don't care about the Y value.
Oh, right. So it'd be from 0 parentheses
So
to
this is Karthik,
infinity.
this is an example of a problem you're gonna get on the test. And guess what? Multiple choice answer is gonna also be on there. -5 infinity. You have to remember for increasing and decreasing, it's the X values that you care about. No Y values.
Got it.
And then it's decreasing from -infinity to
Infinity
0.
to
And
0.
like you
Yeah.
said, that's where, and there's another thing. Your instructor might put brackets around these just to make some like odd, multiple choice, but you'll be on the lookout for that. So